Robin Tournay. I am a project manager with the California Community College Technology Center portion of the Education Planning Initiative. And I have 3 wonderful colleagues here from the colleges, the pilot colleges. We have Michelle Stryker, who is the Outreach and Matriculation Coordinator for Reed College. Roberto Quiros, Counselor for Santa Rosa Junior College, and Lydia Jenkins, Dean of Matriculation and Counseling Services for City College of San Francisco. To give you a little bit of background on the Education Planning Initiative, the Education Planning Tool portion of the project, we went out for RFP on the planning tool in late of 2014, and we then had RFP defenses in February of 2015 and went with the Hobson's product. And with the Hobson's product came the Starfish Early Alert component. So the committee, which these individuals are part of that steering committee, did the vetting and decided to choose Hobson's as the vendor for the state. We signed the contracts and are now implementing what is considered the Starfish Enterprise Success Platform for California. And the 3 products that are being delivered are the Degree Planner, the Early Alert, and Connect tools. And this is what these 3 individuals will talk to you about and how they're implementing those tools into their colleges today. This is just, I'll go ahead and let you guys read this. I'm not going to sit here and stand up here and talk to you and read it word for word to you. I'll let you guys read it, and this is what the Starfish tool is about for California, because there are different tools in other states that are just Starfish. They only implement Starfish or only implement a Hobson's tool, but this is what's delivered to California. Okay. These are the 8 pilot districts with 13 colleges that are in our pilot program for the education planning part. And then Portal is different, but we're not talking Portal today. That's a whole other piece of it. Curriculum ID, articulation, all that is still part of the API, but that's not what we're here for today. Is anybody besides these 3 part of one of these districts? What district are you in?
State Center.
State Center, okay.
State Center as well.
State Center.
Yeah.
Center.
State centers everywhere.
I know. You represent.
So I'm gonna ask them some questions. You'll see the question on the screen, and then I'm gonna have the 3 of them answer the question from their implementation standpoint as to where they are today, so you can hear. If you have any additional questions for them, please ask the questions of the participants here. So why did your district decide to pilot the Starfish Enterprise Success Platform? And please tell us how your colleges are currently delivering education plans. And we'll start with Norberto, then Michelle, then Lydia. And then I'm going to mix it up. I'm just going to go around.
Okay, that's all right.
Keep you on your toes, exactly.
Santa Rosa Junior College is part of the Sonoma County district. We have 2 colleges. The main campus is in Petaluma, Santa Rosa, and in my mind, the real main campus is in Petaluma. That's Petaluma. So we have 2 campuses. So we developed years ago a student information system, and the student information system dealt with educational plans for counseling and a degree audit system. And before that, we were able to keep track of student scheduling and other parts of working with students through SARS. How many of you have SARS? And so we used a lot of the SARS components, not all of them. And we've had a changeover in our IT in the last 4 years. And as the new IT folks came on, what they discovered was that our SIS program, which is homegrown, we developed it, well, the collective we have nothing to do with it, just trying to learn it. We found out that in order to maintain that system and to improve the system, we weren't developing anything based on a program. It was, we were kept developing the system based on patchwork. And so whenever we ran into a problem, we'd go and fix that patch. If we had another problem, we'd have to go fix that patch, even though that might look like the previous one. And so what was happening is that IT doesn't like that. And we were continuously having to say, hey, help, we're working with this student, and this isn't working. So while we were discovering that, at the same time, we found out that the Student Success Act we're working with the Educational Planning Initiative, and that there was going to be developed a statewide system that included educational planning and degree audit, and that it was for free. And so we got our folks moving at vice presidents and president's level, and we asked to be part of that. They agreed, and then we followed through with the chancellor's office. And so, did I answer the question? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I am representative of Reedley College, which is part of the State Center Community College District. We have 3 campuses: Clovis Community College, Fresno City College, and Reedley. So I can specifically speak towards Reedley, a little bit about the other colleges, but I'm implementing it on our campus. So I'm a functional lead for Reedley College. Our district got involved. Our district is actually involved, I think, in every single pilot that's going on.
Yes.
Yes. Our associate vice chancellor was very aggressive in that, and we appreciate that about him. But we are actually doing all of the pilots. So the Educational Planning Initiative is just one of the pilots that we're involved in at the district level. Originally, they were all through Fresno City College. Because we're a multi-campus district, then Reedley and Clovis were brought in to work as a multi-district model. So we will be the first, I believe. We will be piloting at Fresno City in 3 weeks, and we will be the first multi-campus district to pilot the product. So currently, for our education plans, they're paper pencil, or online. You know, we have a nice little electronic version that you type in the things in the little boxes, and we store them on a P drive that counselors have access to. So it's you know, the standard student ed plan. So we are very excited about this idea, because being a multi-campus district, there are functionalities where we can now share information across campuses. We can work with students. We have lots of students that campus hop, and so that's one of the things that we're excited about with this product.
So at City College of San Francisco, unlike State Center, we are a single college district. We have the Ocean campus, which is primarily credit, and then we have a number of educational centers where we have both credit and non-credit programs. One of the reasons that we decided to apply for the pilot is that we're a banner school, and we have modified some of the banner and cap tables to create our own homegrown electronic education plan. But you know, the data in Banner isn't correct, if the requirements and the curriculum information isn't updated consistently, then you don't really have a very useful electronic plan. And so the counselors would find themselves not really wanting to use it, because you try to do a degree audit for a student, and you know, of course, that could have been used for quantitative reasoning, ended up being in some other area of some other graduation area. And so, you know, they started finding themselves not printing them out, not printing them out for the students. And so they were, particularly at the educational sites, reverting back to paper and pencil, which was kind of defeating the purpose of trying to use an electronic ed plan more often. So that was really the reason that we decided to participate in the pilot, and to also help us out with our SSFP mandates and really try to provide more abbreviated plans as well as more comprehensive plans.
One of the things that we discovered is that it is really important that electronic educational plans be accurate, because they're going to talk to the degree audit, and that's how we develop the long-term end plans. That's how we're able to analyze and and confirm that a student is completing. And a lot of the systems, paper systems, we'd have to go and have, well, you can imagine, you're doing it by paper or you're letting the software help you make those decisions, which is, we're now used to that in technology, but a lot of us are not there yet. And so deciding to go this way makes it seamless for the student.
Can you please explain how you would use Early Alert and Connect with your colleges, districts to help streamline the services for your students?
So I'm going to speak specifically for Reedley at this point. We are SARS school, and we use all the different SARS grid, eSARS, all of the different SARS Early Alert. And our plan right now is to implement the Starfish Early Alert in the fall. So we've been looking a lot at it. We're not as into it right now because we're focused on the degree planner, the electronic ed plan part. But one of the things, and I've shopped it out kind of to our academic senate and some of our constituency groups, and the thing that I'm really excited about, and that the people I'm showing it to are really excited about, is this idea we talked about in the last, is closing the loop. And SARS is really, really bad at closing the loop. You send it out there and then you're like, what the heck happens with it? And what the Starfish piece does, one, it's visually a lot more appealing and a lot easier to use, I think, for instructors. You can create flags, and there's different, there's automatic email messages, so you can actually set up different templates and things that go out to different groups at different times, go out to the instructors. You can, like, on this date, 3 weeks before midterms, we're going to send out this reminder to instructors. So there's a lot of automating features. I know a lot of us that do Early Alert on our campuses, there's like one of us and a bazillion people we're serving. So I'm excited about that part. The second is that there's also a kudos function, which I think is kind of cool. So it's not always just you can actually set up, you're doing this well, and send positive messages to the students. But the closing the loop piece is that, so you do the flags, the instructor does it, and then it goes back, but the instructor can continuously have feedback visually of where the student is at in the process. So if they go see the Early Alert counselor, that instructor will get a visual reminder that says they've now seen this counselor, and then that counselor and that instructor can even communicate and say, hey, so once whoever the final service was, whether it's tutoring or whatever those flags were, the instructor will be sent an email back that says, you raised this flag on the student, we're closing this flag because they have gone to tutoring, or they have set up a counseling appointment, or they have accessed this service that you recommended for them, or they've gone to a counselor and the counselor has recommended these services for them, and the instructor can still see that as well. So it's a very, our faculty is starting to get a lot more excited about it as we talk about it, because of that feature, because that's the biggest complaint. Okay, I see this out, what happens? I don't know what happens. So that's the piece that I'm personally excited about. And then the Connect feature we haven't looked at a lot. It's a scheduling piece. It is on your phone. The students can access it from their phone, so it's a lot more, SARS is really difficult on different media. So that, I think that's a really positive. There's a function within Connect where you can set up waiting rooms or type of idea where a student can be across campus and they can look in and say, if I wanted to walk in right now, how long would I have to wait? And they can put their name on a waiting list, and it will actually send them a reminder to say, hey, you're 10 minutes away from being able to be seen. Get your fanny over to the counseling office or wherever it is. So there's some pieces, we haven't looked at it a lot, but I think those are really good pieces. I'm just a lot more impressed with the Starfish system as a whole for Early Alert and Connect than SARS. It's a lot more user-friendly. It's a lot more visually appealing. It's, SARS, if you're a SARS school, it's just pretty kind of clunky and kind of old school looking, and the students are like, so I'm excited about that part.
Ready for the next question? Sure. Do you guys have any questions before we move on? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What is the timeline? So you have the 8 pound. Are you going to show us what it looks like? Do you have an example?
We can. At the end, we can. I'll forget the question.
What is the? So you have these 8 pilot projects. What is Are they making the decision of whether this is something that would go statewide? What is the time like for it going to other colleges?
We have the 13 right now in the 8 districts. And we put the call out for the next round. We already put that out for the next 10. And that we're making the calls to right now. So there were about 40 colleges who submitted surveys, interest surveys, and so we've been conducting readiness calls to those colleges. And we should have the defined 10 by around the beginning of April, of who that group will be. So that's coming soon.
How do we push us to that?
We did already this call. We're just waiting on that April date.
So yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
You know, it will be coming soon, and then after that, you know, we'll just do it. We'll do it again for the 3rd round. Yeah, it'll be similar to if anybody went through the whole CCC apply type thing. You do a round, you get on the list. You do a round, you get on the list. You just have to keep looking for the list. Yep.
Can you say a little bit about the early alert program and how that was integrated into like services and the follow-up services that go on that? Do you have a person who oversees it, manages it?
We're a vendor school, so we also are focusing primarily on the degree planner, but we are having conversations about early alert and who might take it on, because I think right now we have a culture of every department just sort of handles their own early alert and their own referral in their own way. So it'll be a change for us to try to attempt to have a campus-wide program where different people will have different roles and different access to this community in Starfish. You know, how much will they be able to see about students? Who has permission to view flags and alerts of different types? So I think all of those conversations have to happen first, and we need to identify a lead person at our college that would be able to really maintain the early alert functions and you know, put in additional flags and additional kudos and kind of maintain when things are being sent out via Starfish. So that we're not using early alert now.
And we predominantly use early alert for academics. And so we are looking at the Starfish project, broadening it out with our behavior intervention team and incorporating more services within that early alert model. So that'll be a change for our campus too, that'll be a cultural shift for us.
We haven't decided how we're going to be implementing the early alert. However, we know we have a strong prevention team, and we definitely want to be able to work with faculty and the prevention team, not only in the academics but on the behavioral piece. And so, and we're very, very involved in the behavioral piece at our college, and so. We don't see that coming yet. One of the luxuries that we have is we have to go last on the implementation, and so they asked to go first. Yeah, but so, but what's going to happen is that as within the first 13 colleges, where there's going to be a huge learning curve, and the beauty of that is that the next 10 colleges are going to benefit from all those, the implementation kudos and the implementation obstacles that we run into. And so it's going the process is going to be a lot easier for the colleges that are going to
So you guys have already discussed where you're at with your implementation, but can you explain how you included faculty in the process?
We have included faculty, counseling faculty. When we first started out the implementation teams, we, through the steering committee at the state level, we identified a core group of, which included faculty, counseling faculty, IT, and admissions and records. And that core team also then developed a secondary team, which included faculty, and then admissions and records, evaluators, curriculum, and the faculty piece, as far as instructional faculty, is going to be put in place when we start working with Starfish. We're not there.
Just a really quick question. Would departments have access to how many students need 125?
We have not gotten there yet. And so again, that's part of that. How are we going to develop that system moving forward? Who's going to have access to that? Who's going to have roles and responsibilities? And so it's going to change even those types of systems. And at your campus, how are you going to have those conversations and how are you going to involve faculty?
Earlier it was said that for the educational plan, especially when they go online, they have to be accurate. And that's very true. But how does that come into play when the students are going to change them or shift that? How does Starfish handle that?
Well, what the plan was, and this is one of the questions that we asked in the RFP, is that if we want to give the students the flexibility to control their own future, so they come in and they talk to council, we want to empower them. Hey, you know what? Be knowledgeable about this process, so you and I can have a discussion, and you're in charge of this discussion. And that includes working out a plan that they're in charge of. However, we want to make sure that student's plan is a proposed plan. And so can the new system say, all right, the proposed plan can then now be approved to be the plan. And so we want to give the students the flexibility to work with, move things around in an educational plan, but the final word needs to be done by the counselor with the student, so that it becomes a comprehensive plan. So that's the plan. If there are any changes need to be made, then they've already had that discussion.
And Starfish will handle that easily?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was something that our counselors raised as well, sort of the authorship, whose plan is it, and how do you keep track of who authored the plan, who changed the plan. And so there are features in Starfish where you can take a snapshot, you can email it, let's say, I'm the student and I make some changes to the plan. You can take a snapshot of it and then email it to my counselor. So there are different ways of handling that. But that was a concern, right? I mean, what if I've recommended a course that I know transfers to a UC or CSU, and the student comes in and decides I want to change something or picks a class that no longer meets the major, no longer has the right prerequisites, so that was a concern.
Think of the software you have at home or in your computer, and you have different software for different tasks, and you keep saying to yourself, it would be great if I had one thing to be able to do all this. And that's what we have at Santa Rosa, in that our SIS system did a lot of great things. And we're to the point now where we're saying, okay, Hobson Starfish Street, can you beat this? However, there are a lot of holes in our SIS. And so we were thinking that, okay, I have to buy something for scheduling software. I need to buy something for early alert. And so the benefits for us is that in one suite, we will be able to address a lot of issues. And the other part that we really like about this is that as we start addressing issues, we keep coming up with new ways of, well, I wonder what we could do with this, or I wonder if we could do that. And that's the exciting part that you keep talking about, that it's going to enhance what we do. In addition to that, it makes us clean up some of the parts that we've always said, we'd love to see this cleaned up, but our system just doesn't allow us to do that. And so it's a really invigorating process, and we're looking forward to seeing them do most of the work.
So for all of you, you've touched on quite a bit already, but do you anticipate any process changes specific to the delivery of counseling services with the implementation? And do you anticipate any other process changes with the implementation that you can talk to? maybe transcript evaluations or anything like that?
Oh yes, transcripts. We haven't said much about transcripts. I don't know at your college, but at our college, counseling and A&R have a love-hate relationship. So, you know, at one point it would take us almost, 12 weeks to hear back about a transcript. We're a very large college, but unfortunately we only have one admissions evaluator. There are many other folks in A&R, but they have other jobs, and so really having an outside transcript evaluated at our school takes weeks and weeks and weeks. You wonder, did they lose it? What happened to it? So one of the changes that will have to happen is that because this Starfish tool has a degree planner and a degree audit component, we need to have the transcripts evaluated much faster. Right? Otherwise, the counselor is not able to view whether or not these other courses have come in. So we've talked about business changes to how A&R processes transcripts. Our A&R evaluator literally cried at the thought of, just the volume of transcripts that need to be evaluated in a much faster timeline. So we haven't figured out what all of the answers are to that, but we certainly have a lot of questions and concerns about what a new process might look like. And then the other thing that has been a challenge at our campus is really the condition of our catalog descriptions, the number of units, and just the way that we had entered information into Banner. And so if you have a lot of extraneous information or incorrect information, outdated information, then and as you're trying to find these courses in the degree planner, it's also wrong, right? So there has been a lot of cleanup. I'm sure that the Office of Instruction now hates us, but that's okay, because we really, for our whole campus and for the benefit of the students, we have to clean up the data. We have to clean up the catalog, and they too need to be able to keep up with changes that are coming out of the curriculum committee and changes that are coming from wherever they may have initiated. But all of these changes are things that counselors are relying on, and if the information isn't accurate or isn't available, then you can have the best tool ever. You're still sitting there looking at a blank screen with the student. So it's all interrelated.
So I'm going to piggyback on that. Our mantra is garbage in, garbage out. And so we've had a lot of conversations about if we put garbage in the system, we're going to get garbage out of the system. And kind of the two things that Lydia touched on, we are an end evaluating district, which means we do not evaluate external transcripts until graduation.
Wow.
Yes. So that is a huge fundamental shift. Counselors will evaluate them, but the actual A&R evaluation happens prior to graduation. So currently at Reedley, we have hired 2 new evaluators. One's a limited term, but another full-time to add to our, so we know we'll have 3 evaluators. Because we know we have to be a beginning evaluation. They have to walk in the door, we have to evaluate their transcript, get it in the system. So that's kind of a district-wide shift. We're hiring several evaluators across the district. We're using a lot of our SSSP money to help fund that, and it's allowable through SSSP because it's a direct function, core service. So that's been a big one. An example, multi-campus district, we all put our course descriptions in differently. And so what we found, and we didn't find this until about halfway through our testing model, so Fresno City's, all of theirs were released, they're testing them, they're going through it, they're looking at the major pieces and okay, are the units right, all those kinds of things. Reedley's got built second, and so I took my team and I said, I want you to click on every class and make sure all those descriptions are correct. And so they're looking at them, and I was talking to my counterpart at Fresno, she said, oh, we haven't been doing that. And I said, well, you probably need to do that. And she clicked on it, and there's nothing. All there is the articulation information. It says AAC, GE, CSU, nothing that makes sense to a student. And they've never put that into Attitao. They've just historically, they have so many classes, they're so big, there's so much going on, that they just put the articulation information and move on. So that was like, oh my, okay, that's not gonna work. We need actual descriptions in there for the student. And it brings up things like, if you are a multi-campus district and you have students that are campus shopping and they can find a class description for one campus but not for another campus, which one do you think they're gonna pick? So it's that equity, kind of across the board, all over the district, making sure that we are all providing similar services. So that, just little things like that, as a multi-campus district that we've never had to get on board with each other before, and now we're having to have those conversations. We have different CID numbers for the same classes, those kinds of things. That adds a whole additional layer for us on there. So.
We one of the biggest anticipation that I see coming in the delivery is that our special programs, our DSPS, veterans, EOPS, athletes, that they're going to be able to have, the counseling session is going to be able to have a uniform look to it. So that the ed plan developed, if I'm an EOPS student and I go and see a general counselor, that the process, the ed plan, that whole process will look the same. It's not going to be two different things that I'll have to be oriented to. And that athletics can then become a case management system, much like EOPS, and so that'll benefit the student. And so what we want to see is that the enhancement of the experience that the student has, that when they come in, that because our system is very descriptive about what the process is, that they leave with information that they don't have any questions. Our surveys, our counseling surveys to the students, one of them states, have you received the information that you came in for? And there are times when it's no. And so we expect that by moving to another system that is going to be more comprehensive, student-centered, and that's one of the things that Hobson prides itself in across the world, is that their first thought in developing any software and any process is that it's student-centered. And so by being student-centered, we want to minimize what they have to go through. We have a lot, we're a community college, open access, but we have a lot of obstacles for our students. And so that hopefully that this process will diminish that. We'll still have some obstacles, but we'll be able to do that. And as far as process changes that in the future, we look forward to them. Because I think that our counseling team, I made sure that we put in we had some folks in there, and I think you said this last session, folks who are very critical, can be naysayers, they've got to be in those teams, because they're the ones that are, we can be enthusiastic and say, yeah, let's go for it. But somebody's got to put a hold to us and say, you know what, have you thought of this? This may not work. We need that kind of team. So as you're building your teams, put in those people that you kind of roll your eyes every once in a while, but you know what? A lot of the times they're right. Have those included, because that'll enhance your development.
To speak specifically to the counseling services, though, I come from counseling. The thing that I am super, if I was still counseling, that I'd be excited about, and that our counselors are excited about. Is anybody in here counselor? Okay. How many screens do you go to in Attitao or calling your hand to find information on a student? And so we do half-hour counseling appointments, and I would find myself spending 20 minutes of the 30 minutes trying to find the right screen on Attitao, is what I like to call it. And Starfish actually will put a lot of that information, so I can find their what we call their TSEM, their test scores, and their GPA, and their course records, and what they've already taken, and it's all right there, and I click it and I get it. It's not I gotta go to this, I gotta go to Stacks, and then I gotta go to TSUM, and then I gotta go over here. So in terms of counseling specifically, that's super exciting.
The user interface is developed so that it's any software that we're used to using, and so it transfers over. Our user interface doesn't play like a Windows user interface, and it's not 508 compliant. So as my eyes start fading away, I'm trying to work with my SIS screen. It doesn't respond, and so that will help the student because they're going to have their own dashboard, and so having all these capabilities that they can access through their records and through their schedules and what flags they got, that will be 508 compliant, universal compliant.
You had a question?
What was, so we use DegreeWorks on our campus, and I don't know if any of you have seen DegreeWorks. I'm wondering what you're seeing the difference between DegreeWorks and Starfish. And if I've never seen Starfish, I'm wondering if we can see what the platform looks like.
We have 3 more questions. So yes, we'll get to it very.
We're a banner school, but we don't use DegreeWorks, and that because we're a banner school, the counselors were very familiar with other banner schools that use DegreeWorks, and they were hoping that we would transition to DegreeWorks. But now that we're in the pilot, we're moving forward with implementing Starfish. I'm not that familiar with DegreeWorks. I've heard really great stories about DegreeWorks and not so great stories, but I think it really still comes down, and at least at our campus, it would still come down to the fact that our catalog and the information that was missing there would sort of move over and migrate into DegreeWorks. So, but Starfish has a lot of they will be fantastic features for us because you'll be able to drag and drop courses. It'll be able to show you prerequisite statements in red if the course hasn't, if the prerequisite hasn't been satisfied, and so we see those as all positive things. Though none of those features, dragging and dropping and all of those things, we don't have that in our homegrown ed plan. So I think for both the counselors and the students, visually, it'll be much easier to sort of see and read.
And I've seen some degree. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We use it. We have the templates as well, and we drag and drop it. DegreeWorks has all of that.
Does it do
Yeah.
scheduling too? On DegreeWorks?
No.
So that's one of the features that
For
Starfish will
registration?
have. Is you can actually from their SCP can schedule from their SCP. So we will be we're a web we are a web advisor school. So we will be getting rid of eventually web advisor. The student can go straight into their SCP and look at their classes for that semester, and it will tie into the schedule, and it will pre-select in some cases based on I can only take classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I can only come to school from 8 to 3, whatever their criteria is, and it will actually build a schedule for them based on that semester's registration schedule, and then eventually there will be a button, and you hit the button and it will register them.
It's really cool.
It's really cool.
I believe, because we're a banner school and DegreeWorks is also a Lucian product, and so they communicate very well together. And with their new Illusion that's coming out next year, I believe they're working towards doing that component. So anyone who is with Banner and DegreeWorks, you might have that capability, but you're looking like a year or 2 years out. It's not like something that we're going to get this year. So.
Well, that's the good thing about competition, right? It motivates all of them.
It does.
But I will say too, as a Datatel school and a Banner school, I think that was the other piece with Hobson's is that they could work with both.
That's nice.
And so you get a lot of that. Well, we can only work with this one. But we can only work with that one. So.
How easy was it for your IT departments to integrate the software?
So speaking of that, why don't you guys talk about
I want to keep it really short so we can show that. But with us, because we had that patchwork program, our patchwork system, and then the restrictions of we had priorities in IT. it's not been
Oh, we
easy.
don't have that.
And then we changed project managers because one was offered a really good job. And so those challenges about how much time can be allotted to the actual IT work, making sure that all of the tools, all of the servers, all of the programs, that all of those tools are working, and then doing all the instructional programs, it's a challenge. And some colleges have a smoother process because they have different software that they can just access. But with us, it's been very, very challenging. But it's getting there.
I think we've had a couple things that are very, the associate vice chancellor that was spearheading this is also over IT. And so we've made it a priority to create a really robust IT team. And we have, I call her the unicorn. We have a unicorn on our team who came from A&R and then was a dean of students and understands the IT piece and understands the A&R piece and understands the counseling piece. And so I call Doris the unicorn. She just, because she speaks tech and she speaks student services, and that's been so valuable. So I think the key is finding who are going to be your cheerleaders and who is going to push it through and who's going to be on board, but also then do you have people with certain skills that can help you with that process as well. But it is not pretty. And again, garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of the things we'll go back and we'll tell Hobsons, well, this, and they'll say, yeah, that came from your file.
Yeah.
Go back to your file. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's our fault. So there has to be a lot of communication about that and what's on us and what's on them. And but there are separate tech calls every week. So there's the implementation calls and then whole separate tech calls. But the tech piece is very intense. Very intense.
Pre-planning is critical. You have to line up all of the resources that you need before you embark on this process. You need to understand where your data is. You need to make sure the data is clean. You need to make sure that, we happen to have a small IT department and a small A&R staff and small office of instruction, but we have a lot of counselors. And so, our data wasn't in good shape. That took a lot of time to sift through, and we're still identifying errors. The IT person has been assigned to the project, but she's not very familiar with banner forms that we use in student services, and so to kind of figure out, well, which table is that, and which field is that, and to then be able to articulate that back to the Hobsons counterpart, their IT person. That took some time. So I think really you have to have all of the people lined up so that things can go smoothly. And some of it requires sort of, preparing for it and cleaning up as much as you can before you engage with Hobsons and with the rest of the folks that you'll be working with. So, that would be my advice to the Phase 2 schools and beyond, is to really start looking at now what you need to fix and clean up. The degree sheets that we have on our website, we had to, download PDFs and send those over to Hobsons, and the counselors did all of that, really one by one until we got to 150 programs. So it was quite time consuming. If there are ways that you can export your catalog file and give that to Hobsons, I think that's a better way to go. But that wasn't possible in our. Some things were possible, but again, the data wasn't clean, so they didn't start cleaning up. So there were some challenges, but I think in the end, it's still worth it. We hope to gain a lot of features that we don't currently have, and so that's what keeps us going.
So what's been the conversation among your counseling faculty about working with the system with your students?
I think they're both excited and a little nervous. Some of the things that have already been mentioned, what does that mean? We have 30-minute appointments and we have 1-hour appointments. So, how do I best make use of that time, and how much of the time is going to be working with the computer versus talking to the student? And so, I think sort of grappling with that shift of how to do business is something that the counselors are talking about and are concerned about. having students have access to this 24 hours a day means that they could potentially make changes every day if they wanted to. Right? They could change something to their schedule. So sort of how to both let them have access to it while also cautioning them about making too many changes. I think that's something that they're concerned about. So there are a lot of conversations going on. There have been high points and low points as we go through the Starfish thing. But I think the other thing that for our college that we've been talking about is really how to, and you say this all the time, but really how to partner with the instructional faculty and how to actually make that stick and have Starfish be the vehicle that connects all of us campus lives.
I think that there's been some concern both from faculty and counselors about this replacing counselors, and I always try to stress, and the counselors that have used the system, you know, are able to see this now, but that it's not replacing, it's adding value. It's adding value to that student interaction. And again, I'm going to go back to just the fact that you don't have to go into 32 data tell screens is going to be amazing. So it's that idea of having a more informed discussion with the student, letting the student drive the discussion rather than the counselor having to ask 500 questions to get to, you know, what is it that we need to do here today, or, you know, where are we at? It really gives that power back to the student to drive that discussion. So reframing that and looking at the positives of it. But I understand the fearfulness as well. It's new and it's changed and it's different. And you know, I like to handwrite my SCPs because it's easy. You know, I know it in my head and I can get it down there, and that's a lot easier than learning a new system. So I can totally relate to that as well. But it's you know, these cultural shifts. I've done several pilots on our campus, and I like pilots, and people make fun of me for it, because I get to break things and see how to fix them. And so I just keep talking to our faculty about that. You know, the job of a pilot is to see what's broken. So go break it, and let's figure out how we fix it. And we get to make it our own. We get to make it our own. That's really cool to me too. So
one of the initial issues was that if we're going to go to something else, why don't we build our own? And that's been the greatest apprehension, because why don't we build something that's really, really going to work instead of taking something off the shelf? And so that, you know, there's that disconnect between what the Starfish can actually do, because you can tailor it. The other thing is that probably the biggest thing among our counselors is this going to be better than what we have, and please can it be better than our degree audit? And so that's been one of our biggest focuses, is that if you look at kinesiology for transfer, in our degree audit, it does not include a really good description of the required prerequisite electives in different areas. And our SIS can't handle that. So can this program be better than what we use? And so we're so used to dragging and dropping and clicking and building long-term ed plans. We're very good with that. And so can this program be better than what we have? That's the biggest issue that we have right now, that we're looking at.
the numbers up here.
So I can show you from another presentation that we just did at, where were we? What was the beginning of the week? Student Success Conference. This is what a dashboard would look like. So a student would see that they have two different plans. They can do multiple plans, obviously. And this shows that this is their approved plan, and this is a plan that is incomplete. So a student can make multiple plans. The approved plan is the one that the counselor has designated as the approved plan for the counselor. These are, it's one dashboard for Starfish, so they get everything, including all of their early alerts, any of their flags, anything all on one page. They have a success network, which includes anything from counseling. It could be EOPS descriptions. All their services go into one success network. They can raise request help, which is a raise your hand type feature. So if you're in financial aid, you can put specific information out there for students to say, you know, student needs help with financial aid, student raises their hand, they click on the button, raise their hand, and financial aid can put a specific description out there for the student to say, you want information from financial aid, click this button, and then that goes to financial aid. So similar to what Michelle's talking about with close the loop, that'll go to financial aid then gets back to the student can come into financial aid. So they'll get information.
And it keeps a record of all that.
Is that part, I'm sorry, is that part of the early alert or is that part of the?
All of this is the Starfish Enterprise Success Platform, so everything is all encompassed into one whole page for the students. Courses, right here, all the students' courses get pulled in from the SIS into the system and get dropped in here for the student. Their plans, so this button is highlighted because here's the plans, and then history, any history. So if a student does a plan, the counselor approves the plan, or say they deny the plan and sends it back, you can click on the history button and you'll see the history of what's happened with the plan. So here is what a early alert progress survey might look like. So you have information across the top, and these are customizable. This, in the Hobson's University world, they have, for their demo, 5 indicators, but you can have 3 indicators. You can have 6 indicators. You can have them run across the page and have 15 to 20 if you really want. But I don't think that as a faculty member you want to look at that many indicators. You want 3 to 5 at best, recommended. And you get your list of students. It's for the specific course. If you're a faculty member that teaches multiple courses, this is a drop down right here, so you can choose which course it is that you're doing the progress survey for.
And you can do different progress surveys at different points. So for those of you that have like 25 early alert things, but maybe 3 weeks before midterms, you really want to focus on these 5 concerns. And that's what you can put in that progress survey. Maybe after midterms, you have another slew of concerns. So you can actually identify progress surveys by time and create schedules where they automatically push those progress surveys out at those specific times in your semester. So I like that.
So for, say this individual here, they marked improved coursework and then indicated, opened the box right here to put that this individual is struggling in the course. Yes?
So is the student able to see this on their side?
They can see it.
It won't look like this.
It depends on what information you provide permission for the student to see.
But your college would configure all of that. This is what the faculty member would see.
Right.
How much is displayed for the student, how many flags or kudos you have, all of that is configured by the campus.
Here's the referral. So this was touched on a little bit by Michelle, but say you're a professor in a class and you want to send the student you're teaching English class, you want to send them over to the tutoring center because they need help writing an assignment. You can put this referral in. This referral will go to the tutoring center because a lot of the times you might do the referral, tell the student, I'd really like you to go over to tutoring, and what does the student do?
Nothing.
They go over, they either do nothing or they go over and they stand there in front of tutoring. They're like, well, why are you here today? Well, I don't know. You know, my instructor sent me. Well, now they go over there and the tutoring center says, well, you know, hello, Randy. You're here today to see me about writing your essay because you need to be able to form it into 4 different paragraphs, and this is what we're going to do. So now they're like, oh, wow, somebody knows what I'm here for. You know, I mean, what did I do? I just turned it off. Okay, so they're able to help that student understand and feel like they're cared about at the campus now. So that referral then, tutoring center can go back to the professor and say, student came in, this is what's happening. So when that student turns that paper in, if they did well in the paper, then the professor can then go ahead and give that student that kudo and say, hey, good job. You know, or let's go back and do it again. You know, need a little bit more work on paragraph 3. Need to formulate it a little bit more. They could do something with that student. So it's a good way. This is more of a counseling. page, and it has a lot of drop downs for them. As you see, it can break it out into cohorts. So if a counseling department only wants to see or designate their caseload into transfer students, if Michelle, Lydia, or Norberto only want to see their transfer students on their page for that day, they can filter it by transfer students, and they're only going to see those students over here, because it's how you identify your students in your system. So however it's identified in the SIS is going to come over into the system, into Hobson's. And so you can do all of that. Look at their programs. What program do you want to focus on today? You want to take 30 minutes and only focus on nursing students and do a quick cursory look at what's happening? That's what you can do. Sierra College uses it right now. Is anybody in here from Sierra? No. So Sierra uses it. They have been using it. They're a really good college to go out and take a look at to see what they've been doing. They're using it for the early alert component. They don't have it for degree planner, but they're using it for early alert. And they have about 86% of their faculty using the early alert piece. This is the Success Network. So you can put your lovely counseling pictures here, or faculty pictures, and all of their information, their faculty office phone number, email, their schedule, their appointment schedule. You can also put their the office location, and this information. It's nice to keep it short and brief. Some of the colleges, because I'm working with 8 of the 13, so some of the colleges have put more descriptive information in there, but it's nice to keep it short and sweet, because when you're multi-college, then you get layers, and the student, it's easier to find the short information for them. But this is all so that the student can click on it and go. As you see, the Connect piece does do appointments, but this is also all part of Connect. So all their services are portioned into Connect. And this is that waiting room Michelle talked about. So if the students across campus, they can get into the waiting room, put themselves on it, be part of the waiting room, and then, say there's 10 people ahead of them, they can put themselves on the wait room, and then go get a coffee, go to the library, do financial aid business, whatever they have to do, and then see, oh, I'm the second one now. I better get over there, and then go to counseling, or go to tutoring, because you can use it in tutoring. You can use it in the writing center. You can use it in maybe health center too, whichever centers you want to use that. Oh, that's the starfish. So a lot of people want this guy right here. Northeast Wisconsin Technical uses it. He runs around all over. Students at that campus have identified themselves as being starfished. So they'll ask another student, have you been starfished? And they're like, well, what's that? What's being starfished? Well, it's getting a kudo, where a professor is giving you a kudo. So they strive to get that little starfish on their dashboard as well.
They
But
do
he runs around. I don't know.
No.
But we do have a college, Santa Barbara, who wants the starfish. They want to purchase the starfish, and we have an individual who said she'll be there. She'll be the starfish. So we'll see how that turns out. These are more than 300 schools who are using the product. Obviously, we are right here, but there are more schools throughout the country. And it takes between, for degree planner, 24 plus weeks. And just the early alert solution, 12 plus weeks, but they're integrated at the same time, so they can be loaded at once. And that's it. So did that help? Some of the screenshots help you? Does anybody else have any other questions? Because I know that it's 5 minutes over our time. But thank you.